Rainbow Six Siege has had an incredibly interesting journey. It has risen to a place that has eclipsed what it initially was, yet that journey would be full of challenges, missteps, and problems too. Rainbow Six Siege is not a perfect game by any means. But for shooting fans, team-focused players, the esports scene, and the common gamer just looking for a little bit of a high-intensity fun, there's something for everyone in Rainbow Six Siege. While at first a bug-riddled mess, with few players and little promise for a bright future, somehow, someway, Ubisoft has transformed Siege into one of the top first-person shooters on the market and one of the most played online video games. Rainbow Six Siege is a unique story in gaming and a culmination of many controversies, problems, and achievements that have come together to form one of the most talked about video games. Today, we discuss the journey of Rainbow Six Siege and discover if this game is actually the success story people claim it to be. Rainbow Six Siege was a great game at launch with a host of great problems. It was praised for its palpable tension, its unique team-style gameplay, great map design, and manipulative environmental design that allowed players to get a tactical edge by interacting and destroying it. It had this awesome attack and defense thing going on, a cool repel system, and tons of fun gadgets to play with. Anything could happen at any moment. That kind of gameplay range is hard to artificially create, and even harder to find as a player. Such an open-ended sandbox of possibilities in a team-based game was a strength unchallenged by other shooters. Each operator definitely had their purpose, some better than others, but a well-diversified group had the potential to do some pretty amazing stuff together. Having a thermite with Thatcher is deadly, Pulse works great with smoke, and Sledge can create openings for Blitz to throw flash grenades through. Depending on the mix, lots of things were possible. Matches were consistently surprising and unpredictably fun as a result. The core gameplay was excellent when things got going. Execute your strategy, infiltrate, and prepare the breach, the mantra of the attacker. All of a sudden, silence would turn into chaos, the opposing team storming in from above, below, through walls, out windows, or with guns blazing behind police shields. If you froze on defense, you died. These tension-filled moments where a split second decides your fate are definitely the highlights of Rainbow Six Siege. At its best, Siege is both riveting and psychologically stimulating, but there were a few things that held back that experience. The game was a technical mess. Siege was crawling with netcode issues that fought with the very nature of the game. Incompetent hitboxes, bugs, issues with latency, and hacking were key frustrators. These are wounds that strike down competitive shooting games every single year. Wall hackers and aimbotters were living in paradise with Siege, and in a round-based game where you have to wait on the sidelines when you die, this kind of exploitation ruined the experience for many of us, and we definitely left Siege to die. These issues had serious consequences. The launch of Rainbow Six Siege ended up being disappointing according to initial figures. In lieu of moderate review scores, lackluster sales, and a low initial player count, Siege would get off to a very slow start. Some would say it was dead on arrival. But Siege was built as a service-based game. Even though Ubisoft was in it for the long haul though, they had a lot more to fix before we could even begin to call Siege a great video game, including many things regarding its very existence. In addition to its technical issues, there was a lot of confusion regarding why the gameplay progression was tied to an in-game store and what the game actually was. At launch, Siege was a first-person shooter with no campaign, limited multiplayer modes, small team sizes, and a progression system littered with multiple storefronts, game currencies, and micropayments. There was also a season pass and yearly roadmaps for all sorts of updates, upgrades, and additions. Is this a finished game, or just getting started? Is this a AAA game, or a free-to-play game, or a multiplayer game, or something else? What exactly am I buying into? These questions would be difficult to explain, as was the Rainbow Six Siege storefront. What is R6? Why do certain color guns cost more than other certain color guns? What is renown, and why do I have to play the game so long to unlock basic things? These would be serious issues, some of which would still haunt the game today. But if Siege could fix these issues and build on its unique foundation, it could become a fantastic game in the years to come, and it did that, mostly. Over the course of the last 2 years, Siege has had many additions to operators, maps, guns, skins, and improvements and refinements to the base game released in 2015. Detailed roadmaps have been provided by Ubisoft, dispersing content throughout both 2016 and 2017 in 4 seasons each year. Hacking has been addressed with BattleEye, and the game is in a much more stable state than it ever was. The general playability has also been retooled with improvements to bullet delay upon firing, netcode, ping, and stability. Balance tweaks have also been constant as well. Also, a new UI was rolled out during Velvet Shell, making, thank God, the clusterfuck vanilla menu slick as fuh. But these were just the start. We've seen changes to how scopes are rendered, fixes to muzzle flash glitches, and improvements to vaulting, climbing ropes, interactions with cameras and drones, clipping, and a whole lot more. Ubisoft has truly created Siege as a living video game, which they had better if they are continuing to charge us with the new content that they're putting out. The problem is, though, it's often extremely unintuitive. There is a serious pricing dilemma with Rainbow Six Siege. Everything surrounding money or buying anything is absolutely batshit complicated. Today, there are a half a dozen or so ways to even buy Rainbow Six Siege. You've got the starter edition for $15, the standard for $40, the 2-year gold at $70, and the complete edition for $90. Then you've got bundles, a $30 3-year season pass, and over 45 other options for spending real money before you even boot up the game. But it doesn't stop there. Inside the game, a complicated and dumbfounding store awaits you. Everything under the rainbow is up for sale. It's as if Ubisoft has decided to monetize every single possible way you interact with Rainbow Six Siege, but most of it makes no sense. Click on just about any category in the store and you'll find that similar items have wildly varied price points. Things are ungodly expensive for the average player, and with a million things to buy, the prospect of getting anything you want is daunting. Also, there seems to be no thought given behind the quality of an item, given its cost, or the impact it has to the player. For instance, certain glittery pink skins cost just as much as an operator. Questions start to surface immediately. Which version should I buy? Which operators should I buy? If I buy the crappy starter edition, will I spend my entire life grinding? Why do all the guns start with iron sights? And why are operators so goddamn expensive? What's a highlight and what's a charm? What is all this? Are these loot boxes? What does this all mean? Is this eBay or am I playing a video game? The point I'm trying to make is that all of these hoops and monetizations confuse people, create barriers of entry, and potentially steer people away from the game. Nobody wants to deal with hassle. Nobody wants to get that itchy feeling under their skin like a game is taking advantage of them or making it difficult for the sake of luring them into spending more money. And nobody wants a store for a AAA fully priced game to be as complicated as studying microeconomics. Every aspect that has to deal with money in Siege appears to have been crafted with the sole purpose of making everyone confused enough to say, fuck it, here's my money. It's because the thresholds for buying items with renown have been scientifically engineered to be just grindy enough to bring us to the tipping point of this madness. I mean, of course Ubisoft wants us to buy R6. The only way we'd ever do it is if the alternative, which is grinding renown through gameplay, was too annoying. And by the way, newsflash, it truly is. If you buy the starter edition, you basically get the shaft. Play casually for a few months and see how much of the store you can unlock. The value equation doesn't add up, no matter how you slice it. If you want to see this reality brought to life, go ahead and check out this video by Raycevicks. He does a great job uncovering some of the finer points of Siege's dumbfounding real money economy. But when all is said and done, I truly believe that Siege is a great example of a service-based game done right, minus the truly mind-blowing storefront. They've taken a blueprint for a great video game, improved on the initial offering tremendously, and transformed it into a living, breathing product. They have shown that they do want Rainbow Six Siege players to enjoy their time with the game. That is evident in the work the development team has put in behind the actual gameplay. Video games have the potential to come back from the dead, as proven by Siege. Rainbow Six Siege is at the healthiest place it's ever been, and its player base is alive and growing, and its gameplay is some of the most unique and heart-pounding you can find. When you get past its in-game zoo of a store, its questionable progression and marketplace, and its confusing currencies and exchange rates, or the fact that the game forces you to buy extra R6 above and beyond the price of a single item, then I would argue that Rainbow Six Siege has succeeded as a compelling video game experience. As always with Ubisoft, you win some and you lose some. I truly believe that we have won more than we have lost with Rainbow Six Siege. Thanks for watching, guys, really appreciate it. Please comment below with your thoughts on Rainbow Six Siege. And if you'd like to support this channel, go ahead and subscribe to Downward Thrust and check out my Patreon at patreon.com/downwardthrust. Have a great day, guys. We'll see you in our next video.